I'm not going to lie, I bought all of these three because, I mean, come on. What do some of these remind you of straight away? Now we've got an integrated bracelet sports watch, an integrated bracelet digital watch, and I've seen some people online already saying that the one on the left here is Timex's sort of Cassiopeia equivalent. But I mean, to me, there's only one thing that comes to mind here, and that is Tissot. I mean, surely these are Tissot inspired, at least to some degree. You know, you've got this integrated bracelet sports watch with, you know, pretty safe design there. And then you've got this digital, and this is, what's this one called? Q80. And it looks a lot like the recent PRX digital, which got a lot of flack. And to be totally upfront, you know, that's the reason I bought these. I'm sure there are going to be loads of people online calling these PRX killers, or in this case, a Cassiopeia killer as well. But I've got to say, you know, I'm actually very impressed with both of these on first impression. These are the new Continental watches from Timex, and they're all part of the Q Timex range. So they're all quartz. Well, obviously the digital's quartz, but the GMT is quartz as well. And they're both actually really pretty thin, as you can see here. Really thin. This one on the left certainly feels a bit smaller than I expected, which is probably a good thing for a digital. But yeah, I was torn about which to actually get out of all these three models, and in the end I decided to just grab the lot. And part of that was because for the two GMTs here, the stock images actually weren't the best. And Timex normally are pretty good with stock images, but not really for these two. They both had a bit of dark and dinginess about them, so I really wanted to get hold of these to see what they look like in flesh, or at least on video, which certainly is closer to what they look like in person than the photos. And I have to say, they are actually pretty good. So I'll run you through the specs of these in a moment, but first impressions, aside from the fact that they're both very thin, which they really are thin, the case definitely reminds me of some of the other Q Timex models. If you're familiar with the more popular diver-inspired ones, it is similar with the lug shape here, and it's also quite similar with regards to the finishing. You can see we've got like a polished edge here, and then a polished edge on the outside of the bezel. Actually looks pretty good indeed. Now the white one seems to only ship on this rubber strap, but the strap feels good. And both of these GMTs actually have pretty nicely ringed dials there, highly textured. And I really wanted to test out to see if they had much of a sunburst. Now this one has a very slight sunburst to it, not sure you can see it there, but not nearly as visible as that on the darker grey model. This one on the left is almost an off-white, has a slight creaminess to it, whereas this one on the right really reminds me of the old Casio lineage LCW. I think it was the M100 TSE. That was a really nice dial, and this is somewhat similar, I've got to say, with those concentric rings, and then that unusual, almost smile-like GMT window there. Definitely a different way of doing the whole GMT thing compared to most watches. Most of them usually rely on bezel or something around the chapter ring, but not this time. And I thought it was just generally interesting to have more quartz GMT options on the market, because as you may know from my GMT roundup that I did a while back, there's barely anything on the market, surprisingly. So between the two of these, the regular retail price, which you never normally pay on Timex anyway, but this one is 165 Great British pounds, which I think is about 180 US dollars perhaps. And then the other one, the one on the strap, is a bit less, 145 pounds, so 20 pounds difference. Really good for that price. The dials in particular, I'll see if I can get a close up. Really do look pretty good. Still not sure what to think of the GMT window there, but let's see exactly how it operates. So you've got your normal hand adjustments there. Oh wow, yeah, and it's just slowly slides as you move the hands there. Intriguing. Looks like a full 24-hour GMT. Push the crown in and you can fully alter it. Seems to be single direction only. Very interesting. Not sure how functional that would realistically be, because you wouldn't be able to you know, use the location on the fly like on other watches where it's got city names, for example. But it is pretty cool. A cool little extra feature, perhaps. It doesn't really inhibit the legibility of the dial or anything like that. The watch is still quite good looking, and it does remain symmetrical, like I said. As for the rest of the watch, bracelet is fairly run-of-the-mill, to be honest. Not the best clasp, I have to say. because you only can adjust in link-sized increments from the looks of this. So yeah, not the best option for an integrated bracelet watch, I must admit. Let's have a look at the rest of the specs. What have we got? Apparently a 39mm case, which we will measure properly in a moment. Advertising here 50 meters of water resistance, which just comes by way of a snapback rear from the looks of this. Just says quartz analog movement, so not exactly sure what they're using. Stainless steel construction, only mineral glass here, which isn't totally unfamiliar at this price. We know lots of AliExpress brands do provide sapphire at this sort of cost, but basically none of those are GMTs, at least not quartz GMTs. And also one thing I've found, if you've watched a few of my videos so far, you'll see that loads of the lower cost sapphire crystal watches, they are indeed sapphire as we've tested, but they just seem to have a ton of cloudiness to them. A large number of them are not illegible, but they certainly have it as a fairly substantial downside. It does impact the legibility and clarity of the dial, which is an issue that you just don't find with mineral glass for the most part, which is, I guess, what's used in Windows. But even so, won't be the most scratch resistant at all. And apparently it's got some enhanced visibility in the dark due to luminescent hands. I doubt they'll be that performant, but we'll give that a test at the end if I don't forget. Really do like the proportions on that. As for the strap on the white one, it is actually pretty good. The only problem with this style is there is quite a gap between each hole, unfortunately. It's kind of like the style of these, but it's never been my favourite just because of that reason. Does have unusual, almost G-Shock-like end link covers here, which I've never seen them quite use like this before on an analog watch at least. You can see this rubber section just conceals the end link and prevents the strap from bending past a certain point. That is quite unusual. Might make the watch wear a bit more comfortable or prevent your hairs from getting slotted in there perhaps. The watch itself, I think, again, is just actually really good looking. Quite a safe design except for the whole GMT thing at the bottom. And you'll notice here it must be in reference to when they started making quartz watches, because it says since 1972, and obviously Timex as a company is actually a lot older than that. As for the other watch, which might be the one I'm more excited about, that being the Q80 Continental. And it looks like with this one they must have taken some inspiration from the Continent. Definitely looks a lot like the PRX Digital, but this one's a fraction of the price of that. This one's only 120 quid, which for a stainless steel case digital is actually pretty competitive with Casio, and dare I say it, I think this is certainly a bit more tempting than some of the Casio digitals of late, at least the steel ones. The Casiotron itself, I mean, I was tempted by it, but then I saw the price, I saw the thickness too, and I don't know, I was immediately put off. This looks pretty stylish, bit like a nicer version of the Casio A1000 perhaps, and it's got much nicer finishing than most of the Casio models, nice and precise, very thin again here. We will have a look at the calipers in a moment, and this one also has Indiglo apparently, which, yeah, we'll give that a test in the dark in a minute. It does have Indiglo. Again, same sort of specs here, 50 meters, mineral glass. Wish it was sapphire for the digital in particular, given that the dial legibility tends to be less of a concern with digitals, because there isn't really a dial beneath the numbers, it's just a flat display. And the bracelet seems to be a carryover from that GMT watch. Still a steel bracelet here. Does seem actually better than a lot of the Casio bracelets too. Only problem again is the adjustment range, or lack of it, as you can see. So yeah, definitely need to improve that. But overall, it looks interesting. Let's just see what functions we get here, because again, it just says quartz digital watch movement. We have typical time. That looks like alarms at the top center. This looks like a stopwatch. Pushes feel really good. We can reset that. Lovely. And then just back. So it's just the standard functions here. You can press stop start. Yeah, I'm quite intrigued by this one, especially if you can get it at a reduced rate, because that's the thing with Timex. They just tend to be one of these companies that use sales just purely as the selling strategy in a way. So I would always try not to pay full price if you can help it with them. You can almost always get some sort of discount if you just wait a little bit, not even a long time. So chances are you can probably get this for under 100. At which point, very, very tempting. Yeah, so the site actually hasn't been updated properly. It says here, a discrete GMT disc display at 6 o'clock can be set to track a second time zone. Well, that isn't a thing on a digital watch, is it? Feels significantly better than Was it the T80? I'd definitely take the Q80 over it. The T80 felt much cheaper, but let's get the sizes. Across the width on the digital, it is exactly 39mm, which is quite surprising. Actually looks maybe a tiny bit smaller than that. Maybe because of the lug to lug. What have we got here? 44.7 approximately. Bit of an unusual shape, the lugs there. Thickness without the sticker. Yeah, just over 9mm. And the lug width here, well, I mean, technically, I think it's about 12. Yeah, 12mm if you did want to change it for a custom option. As for the GMTs, 38.9mm across on this one. Lug to lug, 45 on the dot. And a thickness of 8.8. So they are actually slightly different in terms of size from one another. I mean, if the backlight's good on this, then, I mean, this could be a Casio Tron killer and a PRX digital killer at the same time. On first impressions, at least, I think this could be the best Timex digital they've made, at least in the modern era. Comes in a couple of different colours, this one. I was quite tempted by the gold, actually. So, you know what it's like with gold-plated watches. Sometimes they can look a bit cheap. I think this looks pretty good overall. And it's funny, you know, I never thought that the Tissot PRX digital was actually that bad looking. It was maybe a little bit boring, but I thought it was quite stylish. I think the price point was the main bugbear for a lot of people, whereas this really doesn't have that as a problem, I wouldn't say. Much higher quality than the cheap plastic Casios, it's not even close. I have to say, out of the more affordable brands, Timex is one of, if not the best, at making their affordable watches look the most expensive they can. Yeah, they've had a string of these now, and I have to say this is another one. Certainly doesn't look like a 130 quid watch, especially not with that textured dial. And again, just really nice and thin. Always appreciate that with the quartz watches. You know, if you can make it thin, why not, I say. Between this one and that darker braceleted one, really not sure which one I prefer. Perhaps this one, because it's actually pretty tricky to find good looking white dial watches that are affordable, because a lot of them inadvertently end up looking cheap, but I don't think that's the case with this one. The case finishing is actually pretty good too. I got lucky with the strap sizing as well, do just about fit into this one. My wrist is 6¼ inches, by the way, so really quite small, and even I could maybe get away with this actually. 39mm. It's certainly on the brink. It feels a bit like we're in a parallel universe. What if Timex had come up with a PRX first or something? Obviously it does have quite a different dial, especially with the surface, but definitely gives you a very, very similar experience. And also I think the sizing is better too. With the PRX you had to choose between quite a long lug-to-lug one or a really short one, whereas this is in a bit more of that Goldilocks zone, especially if they're only going to do one size. I think they probably chose right with this. This one definitely has more of that dial shine, as you can see here. Wonder if solar GMTs will ever really be a thing, because the dial on this with that concentric circles almost looks like one of those solar watch dials already. Now let's see how good that Indiglow is on the digital. Yeah, that's definitely good enough, no doubt there. And it seems to be one that just lasts as long as you're compressing the button, which is good. A darn sight better than a lot of the Casio models. I'd say it's actually about on par with the Illuminator ones, but I haven't got so much hope for the two analog ones here. Let's see what they got in store for us. Give them an old blast with the UV torch. As it said on the site, it looks like they've just got lume on the hands, so I'm not expecting great things here. Timex has never been one of the best performers in this category, and one day when hopefully we've got the space for it, I'll put together some sort of dedicated low light setup just to get more consistent results. But yeah, this just performs just like loads of the other Timex watches. It technically has lume, it lasts a little bit, but it's certainly not a strength of the brand by any means. So yeah, that's your first look at the new Continental range recently dropped by Timex. And if you're new here and want to stay up to date with the latest affordable watch releases, definitely go subscribe to our newsletter, which is linked in the video description, and all these are affiliate link below if you want to check them out. All these look pretty snazzy, I've got to say.